Hello, welcome to another edition of Soulful Sunday on Awakening with Soulspirational. I'm Tish, and I'm sure those that have been watching will recognize all these beautiful, lovely people and faces. So today, I really want to talk about empathy and empaths. So empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empaths have the ability to relate to another person's pain vicariously, as if they have experienced the pain themselves. So with what we do here, I encounter a lot of people who are empaths. Oftentimes they don't even realize that they are empaths when they come in until I start asking questions. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this today, because I think it affects more than people really realize. As I've been thinking about it, I started to think back to my history. And growing up in a very dysfunctional family, where there's a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, having to walk on eggshells because you don't know what's going to happen. I think as a kid, I think everybody has the ability to feel energy because we're energetic beings, but I learned, I believe, early on how to be empathic. So I knew just by reading my mother's face or listening to my father's tone, how I should or shouldn't react. Maybe it's time to take a nap. Maybe it's time to go outside and play. It's just how I've been thinking of it. I think it just started then where I had to be more sensitive to energy at such a young age to keep myself safe, quite frankly. And but when I first started thinking about this, to go back, my memories went back to the times going to the mall as a kid and having anxiety attacks with all the people and wanting to know where the exits were. Getting so bad at the age of 18, 19 where I couldn't go inside of a convenience store because the anxieties were so large, overwhelming. And it's, going to concerts or whatever, it was so difficult to do because I felt like I couldn't even think. There was so much noise coming at me. So, I just figured I had agoraphobia, there's other things going on. And when I realized being an empath, and that I was just simply being ultra sensitive from being young, picking up on all that energy, then I was able to learn how to protect myself better. So I'm putting this out there as the base. And there's one of us here that, again, hopefully know well if you have something from your teachings even that you think.
That's two different things. Now, book knowledge would call that fear of judgment. From being judged so much before the age of 5 that you go out and when you get older. Before the age of 5 is critical. And if you look back in your life, everything in your mind, love, your feelings on love, everything are formed before the age of 5. They're cemented. So when you go out somewhere when you're 17 or 18, that fear jumps up in you and causes, you're actually fearing everything around you. Mm-hmm. Am I going to be hurt? Are they going to say something about me? What do they think of me? This, that, because if you look at when you do things like that, and that's a severe case, what you're doing, as far as books are concerned. And I have empathy for that. I know exactly what that is. But you fear, you almost feel like you're being pummeled on or something.
Right.
Something's not. So that is, that's, gosh, that is absolute, that's just terror. It's terror, and it's panic because you're terrified. Now, if you go into a spiritual thing, right? I know how that feels. Again, you go through your emotional pages there, you find your experience, and you can empathize with everybody in there and decide that you're just picking up on everything. It's two totally different things.
Yeah, no, I feel what you're
Yeah.
saying, and I'm glad that you said that, because I think I have kind of combined those two together. Working with others when somebody experiences such joy, and that's where it's like, oh, I can feel it, whether we're here in the group or when I used to work at the bridal store, I just loved, I could feel the bride's joy. When somebody is crying and not, holding back, not wanting to cry with them, feeling that. But yeah, so I'll work on, thank you for pointing that out, decoupling that from the fear, because you're right, it's like the fear was just always with me in the times of the empathy as
Yeah, it's
as
kind
well.
of, call it what you want, but it's the same thing. So you're being spiritual actually saves you from that fear, which makes
It
perfect
has.
sense, because how much of your spiritual life do you learn that fear doesn't exist? They play off each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
grateful for my spiritual journey, because I can sit here with a group of people that even 5 years ago I would have thought I wouldn't have, and being in front of this camera is still crazy. But even like, I guess the reason why I want to talk about the groups too, like with concerts, because when we are so sensitive picking up, even taking the fear aspect out, hearing all the noise, it's like you have all this energy, so in the spiritual sense, instead of maybe the book sense, because I don't know if they even speak to that, but where we're picking up and those energies, you have this couple over here, maybe somebody's over here screaming or dancing or singing at a concert, and somebody else is doing something else, and you just have all of this that we feel like we may be absorbing walking into a grocery store, going into a doctor's office, because we're so quick to feel the person next to us, their pain or their emotions or their joy, and what may be left behind. But anyway, thank you, because that'll bring insight for me to decouple the fear too. That's
If you go to a concert and there's all that going on, that just feels like you're being, it's too much, protect, so that goes back again.
yeah, there's still a fear in with
You're
that,
just
if nothing else, I'm protecting my energy
Yeah.
from the absorption.
Yeah, and it causes confusion, which goes straight to fear. Again, you're right back to fear. There's two human emotions, love
And
and
fear.
fear. That's it. Everything you do in your life can be traced back. Every thought, every action, any reaction can be traced back to fear or love. That's it.
And when it puts my first husband and I went to the Rolling Stones concert, and he loved them, and I feared the space, so we left. They came out and sang "Start Me Up," and I'm like, gotta go. So yeah, I'm sure he still isn't happy about. Well, we're divorced. It doesn't matter.
Sure, it comes up, yeah.
Yeah, every once in a while he'll remind me.
Residual anger.
Huh?
Residual
A
anger.
little residual anger. Again, we're divorced. I mean, I see him occasionally. Whatever, it's all good. But you know what, I think I hold on to that probably more than he does, because looking back on that. So, what do you want to throw out there? Is there something that you've experienced or something that has maybe helped you?
Well, I've always been an empath, and so I've had to really figure out the best way to not get stuck in other people's energies. I mean, like you said, sometimes going to a packed restaurant or going to like we went to the Summit County Fair a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking about, I'm like, okay, I can do this, I can not, and I had to protect myself and bubble myself, and I was fine, it was fine.
Good.
But a lot of times it's a lot of noise, it's a lot of, I actually feel in my body what other people are feeling. So, I'll just start hurting somewhere, or I'll start tingling somewhere, or, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, really learning how to say, like, no, I'm blocking this out. We're not going to do this today.
It isn't mine.
It's, yeah, and, you know, that has helped, but, you know, it took me a little while to figure that out and understand that. So I think that it would be helpful if, you know, someone feels like maybe, oh, that sounds like me. Maybe I'm an empath. You know, maybe look up a couple things on it and see ways to really just disassociate yourself with other people's energy to keep yourself from sucking it all in.
And you know, spiritually, we talk about placing a bubble of protection around ourselves. And I know people outside the community, because I've heard them say, whatever, where that's really woo-woo.
Oh, no, it's
But
necessary.
it is absolutely necessary, because when we think about what we're doing, placing it, first of all, you know, if you're imagining a bubble of white light, you can think of that as God's light that you're being surrounded with. But just merely stating the intention before I go to the store, before I go to the fair, that I'm just surrounding myself in light, and that I will not pick up anybody's stuff. Like, my energy is my energy. We are being consciously aware. We are consciously aware in that moment of how things have been in the past when we weren't aware, what the ramifications have been. So when we state, you know what, then we can still have a great time, and I would argue even a better time, because we've already stated the intention that, you know what, I'm not picking up on anybody's stuff. Just because I see somebody get into an argument, I'm not going to bring, it isn't mine. I'm going to recognize it isn't mine, and I will not bring that home with me. So yeah, that's, at least it's a simple but profound way to at least start the process if you're feeling that it's at home.
Yeah.
Some sense of strength with that.
It struck me what you said before the age of 5. I think I've always been an empath, but I was told I had an overactive imagination, or you're just being dramatic, you need to calm down, you know, what's wrong with you? So I shut it off, and then once I had my son in my early 20s, I realized, there's more to this. So I'm helping him. I don't tell him he's being dramatic unless he's throwing a fit on it because he can't have a toy. Of course, you're being dramatic. But if he says, oh, mommy, I don't like the man standing in front of us in line, we move because he's obviously picking up on something. So now we sit in the car and we bubble ourselves. And I tell him before he goes to school, bubble yourself so that you know your energy is your own and everybody else's can bounce off. If somebody else is having a hard day, you're not going to have a hard day. It's going to bounce off of your bubble.
Very nice. Oh my
So-
gosh, what a gift to give it to your kids.
I think it's important that if you have children to teach them, or grandchildren, teach them that they can use these techniques because they're going to carry that throughout their entire lives.
Coping skills. It's one of the really good coping skill in my opinion. Yeah, that meditation to the mindfulness. Anyway, we could, yeah, good for you. You know, and I missed out that opportunity with my kids growing up. Like they went through my journey with me as they were growing up. But it's so what I'm working with my grandkids now, but they're not in school yet. Like, you get to directly affect your son right now, today, going to school. So he that brings him self-awareness to his own physical and his own energy body. And when we can start being more aware at such a young age, boy, that's fantastic. That's really fantastic.
With him having special needs, I think it's even more important because people throw, especially professionals, teachers, the people who are supposed to help him. Now that he's going to a new school, hopefully we won't encounter so much of that, but they would constantly tell him, something's wrong with you. You're not enough. And we live in a good school district.
Wow.
They're horrible. So I would always have to undo that when he would come home, and he still deals with self-esteem issues that he remembers stuff when he was 4 and 5. Again, going back to that before 5 experiences.
Yeah. there's no thought process to break it up.
Right,
You just-
they just absorb it.
Yeah, you take it and you internalize it, and you can't, like, if we internalize something, if we're feeling it off somebody, we go, okay, that's not mine. Kids, they don't do that.
No.
They just take that and they feel it, and it destroys them, it really does. So, you know, the best thing to do is, when you hear what's wrong with you, is erase, what's right with me?
Mhm.
What's right with you? Have them say something, have him do something. And just, if you build that every time, you won't even think about any of that anymore.
Good point. Immediately counteract the negative with the positive. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
Immediate counteraction.
Or you're bad. Know what, you made a bad decision, you made a bad
Mhm.
choice. You are not a bad person. Your choices do not make you a bad person. As long, we talk about mistakes. Mistakes are when you learn from what you did so that you don't do it again.
Mhm.
But if you know that it's wrong and you continue to do it, then we need to talk about what you're doing and how to make better choices. But he's such a good kid, it would just infuriate me, and I would have to bubble myself before I go in to the principal and say, what's wrong with you? Not my kid, you're the
You go
adult.
in and you tell them. You tell them off. That's what you do.
Oh, I
That's
did.
the only
That's why
way to
he's not
get
going
through.
back.
You can be as nice to you as you want, but sometimes you have to parent the principals and parent the teachers and parent everybody else with your child. You know, be the parent. Go in and parent everybody. You know, yeah. That's how you change things.
I think it comes back to if we can nip this stuff early on and realize that we have more commonalities than we do differences, then, you know, we can make the world a better place for everybody.
Yes, 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 the other side of that, because as some people are more empathic, we're just walking through the fair or in the restaurant, you're picking up the pain of other people. So some are more empathic, others seem to be more, I don't know if I want to say, just whatever, I almost was going to say disconnected, but I don't know if I want to use that word. They're just the opposite of that. They're just not as sensitive. They're not picking up as much. And I think that a lot of what is going on in today's, here in the US, I think sometimes we can get stuck in our own fear or our own pain that we don't feel others around us. Others not only feel, but we feel the others. But I think the more that we are able to feel other people's pain, we don't necessarily have to know their whole story to realize that what they're going through hurts them. Some of the rhetoric that is out there right now that is causing other people pain. And I think that when we can recognize that people in these other communities, you know, if I can feel, and I want to keep this from being political, so I'm kind of trying to be measured with my words, but we can all think about the different groups that are out there that may feel under scrutiny right now. But I think if we stopped and we took our time to really feel what it must be like to be in the shoes of any of those people in those groups, would I like to be treated this way? Is this something, have I said these words to others? If I turn them around on myself, how would that feel? I think the more we put ourselves in other people's shoes, the more compassion that we can have for other people. And really ultimately talk about it in a spiritual sense. If all of us are one, going back to the oneness episode that we had, if all of us are one, the more that I can show you compassion, each one of you compassion for the roads that you walk, the higher the vibration that I think that we all feel. So anyway, did you?
Yeah, oh, yeah. You were talking earlier about you weren't walking on eggshells when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was like at the egg factory in my house. I mean, it got to be the point where later in life I could actually sense danger. I don't know if that's super empathic or what, but I would tell people stuff. Oh, you're just being timid. No, I'm just being smart. I can sense something's wrong here. You'd go up to people, you could feel some kind of angst in them. You know, it's like, and wouldn't necessarily have to read their face. You just, I mean, I could be as far away from me and Ann and I could feel it, and they deny it. It's
But you
like,
know, because you're feeling it.
yeah, and it's just like, I know I'm not crazy because I'm getting hit with something here.
Mhm.
You know, what's going on? Well, okay, you don't want to talk about it, that's good. But it's just like being an empath, you can just absorb this stuff, and you know, it's crazy. Sometimes you don't want to take on people's stuff, but it's just like, I don't like being in a fireworks show.
No, and that's where I was going with that, where it helps to protect ourselves. Even if the empathy was born out of the fear, like that was the trigger to be more empathic, which also then I think can fine tune or open up our intuition, because everything is at a heightened level, at this heightened sense. So, yeah.
No, but I go to these shows and I don't know how I did it. I just get around all these crazy people. I didn't know if I was attracting that because I knew it just like.
Right, no, I was like,
Yeah, no, I'm just serious because why do
Well, hey,
people
we're
feel
here
they
with
got? I want to see the firecrackers up there, not the ones by my feet.
Yeah.
You know, where people are throwing stuff at each other and jumping on people's cars and acting, you know. It just, what an uncomfortable situation that was.
But you removed yourself from that particular energetic type of person.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I stay away from that as much as I can.
You know, I consider myself an empath too, and I would never protect myself from, that's one of my strongest defenses, is knowing people smile at you, and when you feel the anger coming off them, and they're smiling in your face, well then you know how to treat that person. You know, you see somebody, you feel the sadness, and they have a smile on their face, you know how to react to them, how to treat them, to help them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if they're crying, obviously they're sad.
Sure.
You know, but if they're, that's how I treat people. I get a feeling off everybody I meet. Like I go to work and I know somebody's angry, I'll give them a kind word or avoid them, depending on who it is. If it's my boss, I'm not going nowhere near it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, that has saved me, knowing when something was going to happen. I've left places, you know, my life has been crazy. I've left places before cops have come in. Just left, because I knew I had to leave, or before somebody got shot, or
Yeah.
before a fight broke out. I mean, it's happened hundreds of times where I've gotten out just in the nick of time. I would never protect myself from that. I want to know what people are feeling, you know?
But you know what, it's, when I have clients coming in, or my day-to-day stuff, I'm not protecting myself, because I need to, with what I do, I need to be able to relate to them. So, I get really good even in session, because I feel like I'm purposely feeling into their energy to help them. It's afterward releasing it, where I'm not accepting, like I recognize this is theirs, this isn't mine. Most empaths walking around don't know that they can release it. So I absolutely get what you're saying, and I respect that, because it allows us to relate to so many different kinds of people too.
You have to
When we can do
recognize
that.
it, yeah.
But sometimes when it's the, there are some times and places, I don't need to know how everybody feels at a concert.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like, okay, and even going to Walmart or Giant Eagle, Target, it got to a point where I would be okay, like I could walk through, but then I would get into the line. And then just being stationary, hearing everybody talk and hearing the kids crying, like I want to cry with the kids, because even if it's because they didn't get the toy, like I can feel that pain of the want and not being able to have it mutually or simultaneously, also feeling it from the mother because it's her embarrassment, and look at the scene that you're creating. It's like all these things, and then I would want to just get out of line and I'd have to push my way through. Knowing what I know now, that's when it's like, okay, you know what, I'm bubbled. I may open up my phone, because it's at those times I don't need to know
Right.
what they're thinking.
See, for me, even being
Really?
bubbled, I can still feel
Sure.
and see and everything. I just am consciously not letting it into my body.
Yes.
So like I can still read people, feel what they're feeling, that kind of thing, but I can choose to walk away quicker, or I can, you know,
Well, and that's where the bubble comes in,
Right.
because you're consciously saying
But
that that's the kid cry, like
yeah,
I won't feel the pain of the kid crying. I may get a little bit of
Right.
uncomfortable feeling with it, but yeah, it just kind of adds as that, I think that block of that barrier. So we're not physically like
right,
taking it in, yeah, because I can't unsee what I'm seeing,
right,
and I can't unhear what I'm hearing, but it's to what effect are we gonna allow it, like you said, to really affect us. When we're physically feeling like we want to cry with the kid, it's like, okay. And that's actually a big thing for me, are kids crying. But that's a whole, like, I have to sit down with you for
I
that
don't
one.
like it either. I'm like, I don't think it's nothing empathic. I think it's just like the sound
With
of
me,
kids screaming.
it's that pain, wanting to just, and I know that goes back to deep-rooted psychological issues. So what we're going to do is we are going to continue this conversation, but you won't see the second part for 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us today for this week's Soulful Sunday. I know. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at info@soulspirational.com or go to our website at soulspirational.com. As far as these 2 episodes, depending on when you're watching them, if you're watching part 2, after this is taped later, if you want to see part 1, you can go to the website, or you can go to WCTV's website and you can watch them back to back. So thank you until next time, namaste.